I met Claire during our junior year of college. We were both attending a mid-sized university upstate, me working my way through a business degree, her deep into communications and journalism. I remember the first time I noticed her. She was sitting 2 rows ahead of me in an elective course we both somehow landed in. She was sharp, funny, and always had something to say when the professor asked a question. Confident without being arrogant. That's what stuck with me. We didn't talk until a mutual friend introduced us at a house party a few weeks later. It wasn't some lightning bolt moment, but there was an ease to it. We talked in the kitchen for over an hour while the party went on around us. She asked me about my goals like it actually mattered to her. I asked her what kind of story she wanted to tell, and she lit up. We started seeing each other not long after that. We moved in together after graduation. Got married the following year in a quiet courthouse ceremony. No big production, just close friends and our parents. Claire always said she didn't want the stress of a huge wedding, and honestly, I was relieved. We put everything we had into buying a modest home just outside the city. I started my job at a local bank and climbed the ranks year after year. Claire worked at a marketing firm for a while, then did some contract work from home after our daughter was born. Emily came along 5 years into our marriage. She was a handful from the start, bright, stubborn, hilarious, and far too clever for her age. We adored her. Claire threw herself into motherhood like it was the most natural thing in the world. I did my best to be the steady one, providing, managing the day-to-day stuff, making sure everything ran smoothly. Now, Claire and I are in our late 40s. Emily's away at college, studying psychology, still calling home a few times a week with news stories about campus life and professors she loves or hates. The house is quieter these days, but there's a rhythm to it. I wake up early, hit the office, and usually make it back home by 6. Claire still does freelance consulting, mostly social media strategy now. We have dinner together most nights, catch a show, or take a walk after. Weekends are for errands, yard work, and whatever little projects we feel like tackling. It's not flashy. It's not dramatic. But it's solid. A life built over time, with effort, love, and a whole lot of shared history. I never thought I'd be the kind of guy who finds comfort in the routine, but here I am, grateful for it. At least, that's how things have been. Up until recently. The biggest adjustment in recent years has been getting used to the quiet. When Emily left for college, the shift in the house was immediate. No more school schedules, no more teenage drama echoing through the halls, no last-minute trips to the store for project supplies or favorite snacks. The house felt bigger somehow, even though it hadn't changed at all. Claire and I would look at each other some evenings and laugh. What did people even talk about without a teenager dominating every conversation? But in truth, we adjusted. That's something we've always done well together. Claire's the type who thrives in change. She likes rearranging furniture just because, starting new projects even if she hasn't finished the last. I tend to be more resistant, but she keeps me on my toes. With Emily gone, we found a new rhythm. Different, but still solid. One of the things I've come to appreciate most about our life together is that we don't need constant stimulation to feel connected. We can spend hours in the same room doing completely different things, her on her laptop editing some campaign, me with a book or catching a game, and still feel like we're spending time together. There's a quiet kind of intimacy in that, a closeness that doesn't need to be loud. We still go out once in a while. Not every week, but enough. Sometimes dinner, sometimes just a drive or a walk downtown. We've got a favorite Italian place a few blocks over, nothing fancy, but the food's good and they know us by name. It's the kind of place where you don't need to dress up, but Claire always does a little anyway. I like that about her. She still puts in effort. Not for show, just because that's who she is. Our marriage isn't dramatic. It's steady. I take care of the finances, the long-term planning, the behind-the-scenes stuff. Claire handles more of the day-to-day, appointments, reminders, staying on top of everything that could fall through the cracks. We've built this life the way you build anything worthwhile, slowly, with a lot of small decisions and shared effort. We've had bumps along the way, sure, but we always talked things out, always made it work. I don't think either of us expected life to get simpler as we got older, but in some ways, it has. We've got our routines, our inside jokes, our own shorthand for things. We know what the other person wants before they ask. I still bring her coffee in the morning. She still texts me just to tell me what song came on the radio. This is the life we made. And for a long time, I believed we were both still in it the same way. It started with small things. At first, I told myself it was just life getting busier. Claire was taking on more freelance work, new clients, tighter deadlines, last-minute calls in the evening. She said marketing was more demanding these days, that brands expected instant engagement, constant availability. I believed her. I didn't question it. Why would I? But I'd come home and find her on the phone, smiling in a way that didn't feel casual. It wasn't the conversation itself. I couldn't hear much of it, but the tone. Light, breathy, almost flirty. When she noticed me, she'd quickly end the call or switch topics. Just work stuff, she'd say, moving past it like it was nothing. And maybe it was nothing. Maybe I was just being sensitive. Except it kept happening. Her phone never left her side. She used to leave it charging on the kitchen counter or forget it in the bedroom. Now it was always with her, on silent, screen facing down. I'd see her swipe away notifications when she thought I wasn't looking. She changed her phone's passcode a couple of weeks ago. She said it was because her email got hacked. I didn't push, but I noticed. She started dressing up more, too. Not just when we went out, but even for simple things, running errands, grabbing coffee. She's always taken care of herself, always had a sharp sense of style, but this felt different. There was a new perfume, new shoes, a certain attention to detail. I complimented her one night, and she smiled, said, "Thanks," but didn't meet my eyes. I brushed it off. I really did, because the alternative was too strange to consider. We've been married over 20 years. We know each other's rhythms, patterns. But lately, I felt like I'm watching her from a distance, like I'm seeing her through a window instead of across a table. She's polite, friendly, affectionate when it counts, but something's changed. Something's just off. She started going out more often in the evenings. Girls' nights, late client calls, quick errands that lasted too long. Every time, there was an explanation. Always reasonable. Always just convincing enough. And every time, I nodded, smiled, kissed her goodbye. But lately, when I watch her walk out that door, I feel a pit open in my stomach. Not fear. Not jealousy. Just this slow, growing weight of not knowing what world she's stepping into. I haven't said anything. I haven't accused. I haven't asked questions I'm not ready to hear the answers to. But there's a voice in my head now, and it keeps whispering the same thing. Something's not right. Lately, I feel like I'm the only one in this house who doesn't know what's going on. I can't explain it. Nothing specific has happened. Not really. There's no smoking gun, no dramatic moment that you can point to and say, that's when it all changed. It's more like a string of moments that don't make sense unless you're looking for them. And now, I can't stop looking. Claire's been talking less. Not silent, not cold, just less engaged. When I ask about her day, she gives these broad, smooth answers that sound like they're practiced. Client meeting, had to fix a campaign issue, took a walk to clear my head. All reasonable. All possible. But none of them feel real. She's smiling more, but not at me. I see it when she's reading a message on her phone or walking through the hallway, lost in thought. These little half smiles like she's in on a secret. And every time I ask, "What's funny?" or "Who's that?" she waves it off with something casual. "Oh, just work stuff." Nothing. Nothing. That's the word I keep hearing. Nothing's wrong. Nothing to talk about. Nothing to worry about. But the house feels full of it now, rooms packed with invisible weight, with silence that feels like it's waiting to break. She went out the other night, said she had a late dinner with a colleague. She left in a dress I hadn't seen in a while, one she used to wear on dates, back when we made time for things like that. She didn't ask if I wanted to come. Didn't say when she'd be back. Just kissed me on the cheek and was gone. I watched TV alone. Ate leftovers. Pretended I wasn't waiting for the sound of the garage door. When she finally came home, she looked flushed. Her cheeks were pink, and she had this lightness in her step I hadn't seen in a long time. She tossed her purse down, walked straight to the bathroom, and didn't come out for 20 minutes. When I asked if the dinner went well, she said it was fine, then changed the subject. I told myself not to overthink it. But that voice in the back of my mind, it's louder now. Not screaming, not accusing. Just whispering, steady and constant. Something's changed. Something is happening, just outside my reach. And the worst part? I don't even know if I want to know what it is. I've always believed in giving people the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it comes from working in finance for so long, you learn to rely on patterns, on consistency, on the idea that if something doesn't add up, it usually means there's a simple explanation. But what do you do when the numbers start to shift, when the patterns you've built your life on start to crack, and nothing about it feels simple anymore? Claire and I have always had our own rhythms. We didn't have the kind of relationship where we were constantly glued to each other. We gave each other space, respected boundaries. I never felt the need to check her phone or question her about where she was. I trusted her. Fully. That's what makes all of this so hard to sit with, the slow unraveling, the small signs that something's off, and the fact that I still don't know if it's just me. Last Friday, I came home a bit earlier than usual. It was a long week, and I figured I'd surprise Claire with her favorite takeout and a quiet evening in. I let myself in through the garage and heard music playing softly upstairs. That wasn't odd. She likes to play background music while she works. But when I called out her name, there was no answer. I headed up and paused outside her office. The door was half closed, and I could hear her voice. Soft. Laughing. It wasn't the way she talks during client calls. It was warmer. Personal. Intimate in a way that made my stomach knot. I didn't go in. I didn't listen long enough to catch words. Just tone. That was enough. A few seconds later, I made noise on the stairs, and by the time I walked past her office again, the music was louder, and she was typing like nothing had happened. She looked up, smiled too wide, and said, "You're home early." I nodded and held up the takeout bag. Thought we could have a night in. She blinked for half a second too long, then smiled again. Perfect. Let me just finish up this email. That night, she was more animated than usual. Asked questions, laughed at my stories, even reached for my hand during dinner. And all I could think was, why now? It felt rehearsed. Like someone reading lines in a play they haven't quite memorized. Since then, it's been a quiet war inside my head. Every time she glances at her phone and tilts the screen away, I feel it. Every time she leaves the room to take a call, I notice. When she says she's going for a walk or out for coffee, I can't help but watch the clock. She never takes too long, never disappears without explanation. It's always just enough to seem normal. And that's what's so maddening. I'm not stupid, but I feel like I'm being made to feel that way. Like I'm being managed. Given just enough information to keep me quiet, to keep me from asking questions. And maybe that's what keeps me from speaking up, because I still want to believe that there's a version of this where I'm wrong. Where it's all just stress, or coincidence, or distance that comes with age. But at night, when we lie in bed with our backs to each other, I can't shake the feeling that I'm not lying next to my wife anymore. I'm lying next to a stranger who's learned how to make me think everything's fine. For a moment, it almost felt normal again. It was a Wednesday evening. I'd just gotten home from work, loosened my tie, and poured myself a glass of water before heading into the living room. Claire was already there, sitting on the couch with her legs tucked under her, flipping through a magazine she wasn't really reading. She looked up when I walked in and gave me one of those practiced smiles I've been seeing more and more lately. "We got a call from Emily," she said, as casually as if she were commenting on the weather. I stopped in my tracks. "Oh, everything okay?" "She wants us to come to her birthday party next weekend," Claire said. "She's planning something with her friends. It'll be at her friend Ava's house, just a small gathering. She thought it'd be fun if we joined them for a little while." I raised an eyebrow. "Really? She wants us there?" I thought she'd want it to be more of a college kids-only kind of thing. Claire shrugged, flipping the page. "Apparently not. She asked about you specifically. Something about the way she said it felt off. Not the words themselves, just the rhythm. The way she glanced back down at the magazine without looking me in the eye. I told myself not to overthink it. Maybe I was just being sensitive. Paranoid. Still, it surprised me. Emily hadn't shown much interest in family gatherings lately. She was busy, independent, finding her way. We texted, sure, and she called once or twice a week, but I wouldn't have expected a birthday invite, especially not one that included both of us. Claire and Emily had always been close, too close, sometimes. They shared secrets, jokes, and this sort of built an alliance I was never fully part of. Not in a hostile way, just something unspoken. And lately, Claire had been visiting Emily on her own more often than usual. "Girl time," she'd say. I didn't think much of it until recently. Still, I smiled and nodded. "That's great. I'll be there." Claire looked up again, eyes unreadable. "Yeah, should be fun." The rest of the week passed slowly. I found myself thinking about the party more than I should have, wondering what Emily had planned, wondering if this would be a chance to reconnect a little. Maybe things had just been off because we were all out of sync. Maybe this invitation was her way of pulling us back in. I was holding on to that thought like a life raft. I noticed Claire was texting more than usual over the next few days, her phone always just out of reach. Her mood was light, almost too light. She started humming to herself again in the mornings. Buying new clothes. Laughing more at things I didn't hear. She didn't mention the party again, and neither did I. I figured we'd hear more from Emily soon. I told myself this was a good sign, a chance to shake off the tension, to enjoy something together as a family. I told myself things were settling down. I told myself a lot of things. But deep down, a quiet part of me had already begun to brace for impact. The invitation had been on my mind all week. I'd even marked it on the calendar in the kitchen: Emily's birthday, Ava's house, 7 p.m. I didn't know what to expect, but in some strange way, I was looking forward to it. I hadn't seen Emily in a few weeks, and I missed her. I thought maybe this would be the bridge, something to bring us all back to center. But the phone rang the morning of the party, and everything changed. It was Emily. Her name popped up on the screen while I was sitting in the car outside a coffee shop, waiting for Claire to finish a quick errand. I answered with a smile already on my face. "Hey, birthday girl." There was a pause. Not a playful one, something cold and mechanical. "Dad," she said, her tone clipped, emotionless. "I need to tell you something." My smile faded instantly. "What's going on?" "You're not coming to my party." Her words landed like a slap. "What?" "You're not invited anymore," she repeated, sharper this time. "Mom's bringing someone else?" I blinked, trying to process what she'd just said. "Someone else?" "Yeah, her boyfriend. Or whatever he is. She says she's been seeing him for a while." My throat went dry. I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. The world seemed to slow down around me. "I just thought you should know," she continued, each word landing harder than the last. "Because honestly, you're a loser. You have no idea what's been going on this whole time." "Emily, what are you?" She hung up. Just like that. One moment, I was sipping coffee, thinking about what shirt I'd wear that night. The next, I was staring at my reflection in the rearview mirror, trying to understand what the hell just happened. My daughter, my own flesh and blood, had just told me I wasn't welcome at her birthday party. Because her mother, my wife, the woman I built my life around, was bringing someone else. A man I didn't know. A man she'd been seeing. My hands were shaking. My heart was racing. I must have sat there for 20 minutes, unable to move, thinking maybe she'd call back. Maybe this was some cruel joke, a misunderstanding. But the phone stayed silent. Claire came back to the car, smiling like nothing had changed. She asked if I wanted to swing by the store before heading home. I stared at her like I was seeing a stranger. She kept talking, casual and smooth, as if our daughter hadn't just pulled the last thread of my sanity out from under me. I didn't say a word, because in that moment, the man I had been, the quiet, trusting, devoted husband, was gone. And the man who was left? He wasn't going to let this slide. The hardest part wasn't hearing the truth. It was realizing how easily they both said it, how casually my daughter dismissed me, how smoothly Claire replaced me. It wasn't just betrayal. It was erasure. And once I sat with that, once the shock settled and the numbness faded, something inside me hardened. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just switched off. That night, I stayed quiet. Claire went about her evening as if everything was fine, cooking, humming to herself, scrolling through her phone on the couch. She had no idea Emily had called. No idea that I knew. She probably thought she had more time, that I was still in the dark. But while she sat there, smiling to herself, I was in my office, logged into the bank system, dismantling the life she built on my back. I revoked her access to our joint accounts first. A few keystrokes and her name disappeared from every login, every card. Then I found Emily's savings account, the one I'd set up for her in high school, the one she never touched while she was at school. I emptied it into my private account. Every last cent. I paused for a moment before I disabled her debit card. But only for a moment. Then came the car. I'd bought it for Claire 2 years ago, put the title in my name. She'd always insisted on her independence, said the car was part of that. So I took it back. Found the spare key, moved it down the block to a friend's garage, and locked it up. I didn't leave a note. I didn't explain. The next morning, Claire woke up to her entire world missing piece by piece. I was already downstairs, dressed for work, calm as ever. She came down in a robe, confused, irritated. "My card's not working," she said. I tried to order groceries and it got declined. I looked up from my coffee and said the words like I'd been practicing them for weeks. "You don't live here anymore." She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. "What?" "You heard me," I said. "You don't live here. Your access is gone. Your accounts are closed. The car's mine. Pack a bag. Get out." She started stammering, eyes wide. "What are you talking about? Are you serious right now?" I stood. Not fast, not angry, just final. "Emily called me. Told me everything. About your boyfriend. About how I'm not invited to her party because you'd rather bring your lover. Her mouth opened, closed. Nothing came out. You lied to me for months, I continued, stepping past her. Made a fool of me. Taught our daughter to do the same. So this is the part where I stopped playing along. She tried to follow me, asking for a chance to talk, calling it a mistake. But I didn't listen. I opened the front door and pointed to it. You made your choice. Now live with it. She left. I didn't watch her go. I just closed the door behind her. She's been trying to reach me ever since, calls, texts, even emails. All unanswered. Every message a little more frantic, a little more desperate. I know she's panicking now. No money, no car, no fallback plan. I know because I was her plan. I was the one who made everything stable, and she took that for granted. Not anymore. She taught Emily that I was a joke. But this isn't a punchline. It's the end. Starting over isn't some dramatic event. It's not like what you see in movies. No montage, no sweeping music, no sudden sunrise of freedom. It's small. It's quiet. It's making coffee in an empty kitchen and realizing you don't need to make a second cup. It's standing in front of your closet and seeing half the hangers gone and thinking, this is mine now. Not in triumph. Just fact. The first week after Claire left was silent. Deafeningly so. No footsteps on the stairs. No background phone calls. No perfume lingering in the hallway. Just me, my routines, and the buzzing silence that comes after someone takes all the noise with them. At first, I didn't know what to do with myself. I built a life that revolved around someone else for so long. Claire had always been a force, opinionated, talkative, constantly in motion. I'd been the steady one, the quiet one. Now I was just a man in a house that felt too big, with no one to talk to but my own reflection. I threw myself into work. It was the one thing I could control. I put in extra hours at the bank, volunteered for audits, offered to take on new accounts. My coworkers probably thought I was angling for a promotion. The truth was, I just didn't want to go home too early. Not yet. But slowly, very slowly, I started to reclaim little corners of my life. I repainted the living room. Nothing fancy. Just a clean slate. I donated all the old throw pillows Claire insisted on keeping. Rearranged the furniture. It sounds stupid, but it helped. It reminded me that this space was mine, that I didn't have to keep living in a museum of our marriage. I cooked for myself. At first, it was frozen dinners and cereal, but then I started trying new recipes. I burnt half of them, sure. But there was something grounding about feeding myself on my own terms. And then, about 3 weeks in, something happened I didn't expect. I met someone. Her name's Dana. We met at a coffee shop, both reaching for the same pastry like something out of a cliché. She laughed, let me have it, then sat near me with her laptop open and headphones in. She didn't speak to me again, but she smiled as she left. I saw her again 2 days later. This time, I asked her name. We've had coffee 3 times since. No pressure. No promises. Just conversation. She's warm, sharp, and doesn't ask about my past. That alone feels like a gift. I haven't told her everything, maybe I never will. But for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm not pretending to be okay. I actually am. I don't know what comes next. Maybe Dana and I keep seeing each other. Maybe we don't. But I've stopped thinking in terms of what I lost. I'm more interested now in what I get to build. I don't miss Claire. Not anymore. I miss the version of her I believed in. The one I thought would stand beside me until we were old. That version died the moment she chose someone else. The real Claire, the one who lied, manipulated, used our daughter as a pawn. I don't mourn her. I just let her go. Emily hasn't called since that day. Maybe she's ashamed. Maybe she's angry. I don't know. I still check my phone sometimes, wondering if she'll come around. If she does, we'll have a long road to walk. But that's not today's concern. Today, I am standing. Today, I am whole. And for the first time in a long time, I'm not living someone else's story. I'm writing my own. It's strange how something that once defined your whole world can become a footnote in your story. There was a time not long ago when everything I thought about, everything I did, revolved around Claire and Emily. My days, my plans, my choices, every piece of my life was woven with theirs. And then, in a matter of weeks, it all unraveled. What took decades to build collapsed in silence and secrets and a phone call that felt like a gut punch from someone I raised. But now, the house is quiet, and I'm okay with that. Truly okay. I still have the same job, same address, same coffee pot on the same kitchen counter. But nothing is the same, because I've changed. Not in a dramatic way, no reinvention, No midlife crisis. Just a slow, careful return to myself. I've been orbiting other people for so long, I forgot what it meant to move on my own terms. I see Dana once a week now, sometimes more. We're not a thing in the traditional sense. We meet up for dinner, we text, we talk about books and music and memories that have nothing to do with betrayal. There's something healing about being around someone who doesn't see me through the lens of failure. I'm not her husband or her ex or her dad. I'm just me. And that's enough. Emily hasn't called. I thought she might eventually, an apology, an explanation, a stumble toward understanding. It hasn't come. And I've stopped waiting. I leave the door open, but I won't chase her. If she wants to see me as pathetic, that's her burden, not mine. Claire tried once more. A long, rambling email full of excuses dressed up as regret. She said she was confused, that the affair wasn't serious, that she missed what we had. I read it twice, not out of curiosity, but to remind myself what manipulation sounds like when it's desperate. I didn't reply. She made her choice. So did I. And now I wake up without the weight of being lied to. I sleep without wondering if the person next to me is thinking of someone else. I go through my day with a kind of quiet dignity that comes from surviving something that should have broken me, but didn't. People think revenge is loud, that it's dramatic, fiery, explosive. But it's not. The real revenge is peace. It's silence. It's becoming someone who no longer needs to prove anything. I am not pathetic. I am not a loser. I am a man who lost everything that was false and gained something real. Me. And this calm, this clarity, this quiet morning with the windows open and the light pouring in, is the ending I choose. Not because it was handed to me, but because I made it.